Warhammer 40k is a universe defined by conflict, sacrifice, and the relentless march of war. In its grim darkness, heroes and martyrs emerge not from idealism, but from necessity. Among the countless technological marvels and horrors that populate the galaxy, few are as iconic or as tragic as the Dreadnought. These towering constructs, half machine and half man, are not simply instruments of war. They are monuments to the resilience and desperation of humanity and its allies. Encased within their armored shells lie warriors who refuse to surrender to death, their shattered bodies sustained by arcane technology, their spirits forever bound to their duty. But every legend has a beginning. Before dreadnoughts became symbols of unstoppable might on countless battlefields, there was the first asterisk, the progenitor of this grim legacy. Its story is one of innovation born from necessity, shaped by the endless trials of war. To understand its origins, we must first immerse ourselves in the tumultuous era that gave rise to such a machine. The first dreadnought was not merely a war machine. It was a symbol of a broader transformation, a moment when biology and technology merged in the service of survival and conquest. To grasp this tale, one must consider the galaxy-spanning conflicts and the relentless march of progress that defined the Age of Strife and the Great Crusade. It was a time when ancient knowledge was rediscovered, when humanity sought to reunite under a single banner, and when new methods of warfare were forged in the fires of necessity. The rise of the Dreadnought is inseparably linked to these pivotal moments in history, reflecting both the triumphs and the tragedies of the Imperium of Man. Yet the story of the first Dreadnought is not confined to one faction or one warrior. It is intertwined with the ambitions of humanity's greatest minds, the will of its mightiest champions, and the unyielding ferocity of its enemies. Its tale is one of heroism, sacrifice, and the cold reality of a galaxy at war. Understanding its creation, purpose, and legacy requires us to step into the heart of the Warhammer 40k universe, where life and death blur, and where even the most advanced technology carries a price. This is the story of the first Dreadnought, a chapter in the annals of 40k history that illuminates both the genius and the desperation of a galaxy on the brink. It is a tale of ambition, of those who sought to harness the power of the machine to save their comrades and strike fear into their foes. It is also a story of tragedy, for every dreadnought is a warrior who has lost everything, save for their unrelenting duty. As we begin this journey, keep in mind the heavy toll that progress often exacts in the Warhammer 40k universe. The first dreadnought was more than a machine. It was a harbinger of a new era in warfare, a symbol of the blurred line between humanity and machinery. Its creation marked a turning point, not only for the Imperium but for the galaxy itself, a moment where technology and sacrifice became inextricably intertwined. Now, let us delve deeper into this story. Who were the key players that set the stage for the rise of this iconic war machine? What forces shaped the circumstances that demanded its creation? The answers lie in the figures and factions whose ambitions and conflicts would forever change the face of war in the 40k universe. The origins of the first Dreadnought involve a complex web of individuals, factions, and ideologies, each contributing in their unique way to the creation of this monumental war machine. Central to this tale are those who envisioned, designed, and ultimately wielded the first Dreadnought, as well as those who stood in opposition or indirectly influenced its rise. At the heart of the story lies the Legiones Astartes, the genetically enhanced warriors who formed the backbone of humanity's efforts to reclaim the stars during the Great Crusade. These transhuman soldiers were built for perfection, but even they were not invincible. The constant attrition of warfare created a need for a solution that would allow injured warriors to continue serving. The Astartes, with their unparalleled resilience and determination, became the natural candidates for the first integration into the towering constructs that would become known as dreadnoughts. Their ethos of unyielding duty shaped the very purpose of this technology. Standing alongside the Astartes were the techno-scholars of the Mechanicum of Mars. Guardians of ancient technological knowledge, they were instrumental in developing and refining the systems that allowed a grievously injured warrior to be encased within the armored shell of a dreadnought. The Mechanicum's obsession with the fusion of biology and technology drove them to unlock forgotten methods and adapt them for the needs of the Imperium. They were not mere engineers, but visionaries, deeply entrenched in a belief system that regarded machines as sacred extensions of the divine. Supporting the Mechanicum were the Imperium's armies, particularly the Imperial Army. Although they were not directly involved in the design or operation of the first dreadnought, their presence on countless battlefields underscored the need for such a creation. These human soldiers, vulnerable to the horrors of the galaxy, relied on the might of the Astartes and their technology to hold the line against overwhelming threats. Their role as both witnesses and beneficiaries of the Dreadnought's development highlights the broader impact of this invention on the Imperium's military strategy. Also significant were the Xeno species that humanity encountered during its expansion. While the specific enemies tied to the first Dreadnought's development remain a topic of debate, it is undeniable that the constant pressure from hostile alien forces accelerated the need for new tools of war. These enemies, whether technologically advanced or brutally numerous, served as a catalyst for innovation within the Imperium. Their relentless aggression pushed humanity to explore solutions that might have otherwise remained theoretical. Another critical faction involved was the Imperium's leadership, including the Council of Terra and its advisors. While their role was largely indirect, their strategic priorities and demands for results influenced the allocation of resources and the direction of the Mechanicum's research. The decision to approve the development of such a radical technology reflected the growing desperation and determination to secure humanity's survival in a hostile galaxy. In the shadows of this grand narrative were individual inventors, scientists, and warriors whose contributions shaped the Dreadnought's development. These unsung heroes and innovators worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between theoretical designs and practical application. Their efforts were often unacknowledged, but their dedication and ingenuity were instrumental in overcoming the myriad challenges associated with creating such a complex machine. Finally, there were the enemies within. Not all who observed the rise of the Dreadnought viewed it as a necessary or even acceptable advancement. Skeptics within the Imperium, including certain elements of the Mechanicum and military leadership, questioned the ethics, cost, and long-term consequences of merging man and machine in this manner. Their concerns added another layer of complexity to the development process, forcing its proponents to navigate both technical and political obstacles. Each of these players brought their own perspective and priorities to the table, creating a dynamic and often contentious environment in which the first Dreadnought emerged. It was not the work of a single mind or faction, but the result of collaboration, conflict, and compromise among the many forces that defined the early days of the Imperium's struggle for dominance. Together, they set the stage for a technological marvel that would forever alter the course of warfare in the Warhammer 40k universe. The emergence of the first Dreadnought was not an isolated event, but rather the culmination of a series of circumstances that defined a tumultuous period in humanity's history. It was a time of unparalleled challenges, where the Imperium of Man faced existential threats from all directions, requiring unprecedented solutions to sustain its expansion and survival. Understanding what led to this technological milestone requires examining the broader context of the galaxy and the events that shaped the Imperium's military and technological priorities. The Age of Strife, a dark and fragmented period before the Great Crusade, had left humanity scattered, vulnerable, and technologically diminished. Warp storms cut off interstellar communication and travel, isolating human colonies from one another for millennia. During this time, countless advances were lost, and humanity fell into a state of regression, with many worlds reduced to barbarism or preyed upon by hostile Xeno species. By the time the storm subsided and the Great Crusade began, the Imperium was racing against time to recover and redeploy lost knowledge to reunite the galaxy under a single banner. This desperate need for technological reinvention laid the groundwork for many of the innovations that followed, including the development of the Dreadnought. The Great Crusade itself was a period of relentless warfare. As the Imperium expanded, it encountered not only isolated human worlds, but also hostile alien empires and cultures, many of which possessed advanced technologies or overwhelming numbers. Humanity's forces were stretched thin, and even the mighty Astartes could not achieve victory without sustaining heavy casualties. The brutal reality of war demanded new solutions to preserve the Imperium's most valuable resource, its warriors. The concept of creating machines that could house the gravely injured yet still allow them to fight emerged as a practical necessity rather than a theoretical pursuit. Simultaneously, the Mechanicum of Mars, which had pledged its allegiance to the Imperium during the Treaty of Mars, was driven by its own motivations to rediscover and refine ancient technologies. The Mechanicum's archives contained fragments of knowledge from humanity's golden age, and among these were designs for advanced cybernetic systems capable of sustaining life in damaged bodies. The relentless pressure of the Great Crusade forced the Mechanicum to accelerate its research and adapt these technologies to the Imperium's immediate needs. The blending of biology and machinery was not a new concept for the Mechanicum, but the demands of the Crusade pushed this integration to new extremes. Another key factor was the scale and intensity of the battles waged during the Great Crusade. The Imperium's forces were often outnumbered or outmatched by enemies who wielded devastating weaponry. Massive engagements frequently left entire battlefields littered with the bodies of fallen warriors. While some of these casualties were irrecoverable, others were found clinging to life, their injuries too severe for conventional medical treatment to heal. It was in these moments that the necessity of preserving the lives of these elite warriors became evident. The Imperium could not afford to lose its most skilled and experienced fighters, leading to the exploration of technologies that could sustain their lives beyond the limits of their damaged bodies. The psychological and symbolic value of such warriors also played a role. In a galaxy where morale was as important as strategy, the sight of a fallen hero rising again, encased in a towering, nigh indestructible war machine, was an image of hope and terror. For the Imperium's enemies, it was a chilling reminder of humanity's refusal to surrender, even in the face of overwhelming odds. For humanity's allies, it was a symbol of resilience and strength, an unyielding force that would fight on no matter the cost. This duality of purpose, both practical and psychological, further justified the development of such a machine. The enemies faced by the Imperium during this time also shaped the evolution of its war doctrines. The threats posed by Xenos empires and rebellious human factions forced the Imperium to adapt rapidly. The sheer variety of adversaries, from massive alien hordes to technologically advanced foes, meant that traditional methods of warfare were often insufficient. The Dreadnought, with its ability to combine heavy firepower, mobility, and survivability, became an ideal solution to address the gaps in the Imperium's arsenal. Its creation was a direct response to the multifaceted challenges posed by the galaxy's hostile inhabitants. Finally, there was the cultural and ideological shift within the Imperium itself. The harsh realities of the Great Crusade fostered an environment where pragmatism often overrode ethical considerations. The merging of flesh and machine, though controversial in certain circles, was embraced as a necessary evil in the face of existential threats. This cultural acceptance of extreme measures allowed the Mechanicum to push the boundaries of their research without facing significant resistance from the broader Imperium. Together, these factors created the perfect storm for the creation of the first Dreadnought. It was not the product of a single event or decision, but rather the result of a series of interconnected developments, technological, military, and cultural, that converged during one of the most pivotal eras in humanity's history. This convergence set the stage for the next chapter, where the first of these mighty war machines would rise and forever change the face of warfare in the galaxy. The development of the first Dreadnought was not a single instantaneous event, but rather a process that unfolded across several key stages, each marked by breakthroughs, challenges, and critical decisions. These stages were shaped by the galaxy's unrelenting warfare and the Imperium's need to adapt rapidly to an ever-changing landscape of threats and demands. The initial phase of the Dreadnought's creation began with the rediscovery of ancient technological blueprints by the Mechanicum. These fragmented designs, preserved from humanity's golden age, outlined systems capable of sustaining life within a machine interface. While the Mechanicum was adept at safeguarding these remnants of knowledge, the practical application of these technologies required significant adaptation. Early experiments focused on integrating neural interfaces with mechanical systems, allowing a wounded individual to control a machine as though it were an extension of their own body. The first prototypes were crude and unreliable, often failing under battlefield conditions, but they laid the foundation for more advanced iterations. As the Great Crusade expanded, the increasing frequency of large-scale battles necessitated a shift in priorities. The Mechanicum, driven by the urgency of the Imperium's needs, refined their designs to address the challenges of combat reliability, survivability, and ease of deployment. This phase saw the introduction of advanced life support systems capable of sustaining grievously wounded individuals for extended periods. These systems were designed not only to keep the occupant alive, but also to allow them to function at peak efficiency, integrating seamlessly with the machine's combat systems. The fusion of biological and mechanical components became a cornerstone of the project, requiring breakthroughs in fields such as cybernetics and bioengineering. The second significant stage was the field testing of early Dreadnought prototypes. These trials were conducted in some of the most hostile environments, where the Imperium's forces faced overwhelming opposition. The prototypes proved their worth by turning the tide of critical battles, demonstrating their ability to withstand immense damage while delivering devastating firepower. However, these tests also revealed numerous flaws, including issues with mobility, overheating, and the psychological toll on the occupants. Addressing these problems became a top priority, leading to further iterations and refinements. One of the most challenging aspects of the project was finding suitable candidates for the Dreadnought program. The process required individuals who were not only critically injured, but also possessed the mental fortitude to endure the transition from flesh to machine. Many of those selected were renowned warriors, their experience and skills deemed too valuable to lose. Specialized training programs were developed to prepare these individuals for the unique demands of piloting a Dreadnought, focusing on both physical and psychological conditioning. As the program progressed, the Mechanicum and the Astartes worked closely to standardize the design and production of Dreadnoughts, ensuring they could be deployed on a larger scale. The final iterations incorporated modular weapon systems, enhanced mobility, and improved life support technologies, making them versatile tools of war. These advancements marked the transition from experimental prototypes to fully operational war machines, ready to be integrated into the Imperium's military forces. The deployment of the first operational Dreadnoughts represented a turning point in the Imperium's military strategy. They were initially introduced as specialized units, used to reinforce key positions or lead assaults on heavily fortified enemy strongholds. Their impact on the battlefield was immediate and profound, inspiring both awe and terror in equal measure. The sight of these towering constructs, driven by the indomitable will of their occupants, became a symbol of the Imperium's resolve and ingenuity. The final stage in the development of the Dreadnought was its integration into the broader military structure of the Imperium. This process involved not only logistical considerations, such as production and maintenance, but also the development of tactics and strategies to maximize their effectiveness. Dreadnoughts were assigned roles that played to their strengths, such as spearheading assaults, anchoring defensive lines, or providing fire support. Their versatility and durability made them invaluable assets, capable of turning the tide of battle in the Imperium's favor. Throughout this process, the Dreadnought project faced numerous obstacles, from technical challenges to ethical debates. Despite these difficulties, the determination and collaboration of those involved ensured its success. The first Dreadnoughts not only proved the viability of the concept, but also paved the way for further advancements, solidifying their place as one of the Imperium's most iconic and enduring creations. This gradual and painstaking development process reflects the Imperium's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure, overcoming adversity to achieve its goals. The first Dreadnought was not just a machine, but a testament to humanity's resilience and determination in the face of insurmountable odds. It stands as a symbol of what can be achieved when necessity and ingenuity converge on the battlefield. The turning point in the creation of the first Dreadnought came during a moment of desperation on a battlefield where traditional methods of warfare had proven inadequate. The Imperium's forces, despite their technological and military superiority, were being pushed to the brink by an enemy that exploited their vulnerabilities. The situation demanded an immediate and innovative solution, one that would not only preserve critical warriors, but also turn the tide of battle in the Imperium's favor. It was this combination of urgency and necessity that spurred a bold decision to deploy a fully functional prototype of a Dreadnought in active combat. The critical decision to move forward with the Dreadnought program in this high-stakes environment was made by key figures within the Mechanicum and the Imperium's military leadership. Despite lingering doubts about the reliability of the technology and the ethical implications of encasing a living warrior in a mechanical shell, the dire circumstances left little room for debate. The need for an unstoppable combatant, capable of enduring extreme conditions and delivering overwhelming firepower, outweighed the risks. This decision marked a significant shift in the Imperium's approach to warfare, signaling a willingness to embrace radical measures in the face of existential threats. The chosen battlefield was one of strategic importance, where the Imperium's forces were locked in a grueling siege against an entrenched enemy. Traditional tactics had failed to break the stalemate, and the constant attrition of the Imperium's forces was unsustainable. The introduction of the Dreadnought prototype represented a calculated gamble, one that hinged on the machine's ability to withstand the rigors of combat and achieve objectives that conventional forces could not. The decision to activate the prototype was not made lightly. It was driven by the realization that failure to act could result in the loss of the entire campaign. The moment of deployment was marked by a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The prototype, towering and imposing, was prepared for its first test under live combat conditions. The warrior chosen to inhabit the machine had been carefully selected based on their experience, mental fortitude, and the severity of their injuries, which left no other option for survival. This individual, now permanently bonded to the machine, embodied the fusion of human will and mechanical power that defined the Dreadnought concept. As the Dreadnought entered the battlefield, its presence immediately altered the dynamic of the conflict. Its ability to endure enemy fire and deliver devastating counterattacks made it a focal point of the engagement. The machine's resilience allowed it to push through defenses that had previously seemed impenetrable, forcing the enemy to divert significant resources in an attempt to neutralize this new threat. The psychological impact on both sides was profound. For the Imperium's forces, the Dreadnought was a beacon of hope and an emblem of their unyielding determination. For the enemy, it was a harbinger of doom, a machine that seemed unstoppable and inhuman in its relentless advance. The success of this deployment did not come without challenges. The prototype systems were pushed to their limits, revealing weaknesses that would need to be addressed in future iterations. The strain on the occupant, both physical and psychological, was immense, raising questions about the long-term viability of the program. Nevertheless, the immediate results were undeniable. The Dreadnought's intervention turned the tide of the battle, securing a crucial victory for the Imperium and demonstrating the potential of this new technology. The decision to deploy the first Dreadnought in combat had far-reaching implications. It validated the concept and paved the way for further development and refinement of the technology. It also set a precedent for the Imperium's willingness to integrate extreme solutions into its military doctrine, reflecting the harsh realities of a galaxy at war. This key moment marked the beginning of a new era in warfare, one where the boundaries between human and machine were blurred in the pursuit of survival and dominance. This turning point, though fraught with risk and controversy, proved to be a defining moment in the history of the Imperium. It demonstrated the effectiveness of the Dreadnought as both a tactical asset and a symbol of resilience. The legacy of this decision would resonate throughout the Imperium, shaping its approach to technological innovation and the role of individual sacrifice in the greater struggle for humanity's survival. The first Dreadnought's debut on the battlefield was not just a victory. It was a statement of intent, a declaration that the Imperium would stop at nothing to secure its place in the galaxy. The introduction of the first Dreadnought had an immediate and profound impact on the galaxy, altering the course of warfare and shaping the perception of technological innovation within the Imperium. Its success on the battlefield sent shockwaves through military and political spheres, creating a ripple effect that extended far beyond the initial deployment. The influence of this technological breakthrough was felt in both practical and symbolic ways, reshaping strategies, inspiring new advancements, and shifting the balance of power in the galaxy. One of the most immediate effects was the boost in morale among the Imperium's forces. The sight of a heavily armored construct, piloted by a wounded yet unyielding warrior, served as a powerful symbol of resilience. For soldiers who faced overwhelming odds and constant losses, the Dreadnought became a beacon of hope, demonstrating that even the gravest injuries could not silence a hero's resolve. This psychological reinforcement helped bolster the fighting spirit of countless troops, allowing them to hold the line in situations that might otherwise have ended in retreat or defeat. The success of the first Dreadnought also reshaped battlefield tactics and strategies. Commanders quickly recognized the potential of this new weapon to act as a force multiplier, capable of breaking through enemy defenses and holding critical positions. The introduction of such a unit required a re-evaluation of existing doctrines, with a growing emphasis on combined arms operations that leveraged the Dreadnought's strengths alongside other elements of the Imperium's forces. Its ability to sustain heavy damage while delivering devastating firepower made it an ideal focal point for both offensive and defensive maneuvers. The deployment of the Dreadnought had an equally significant impact on the Imperium's enemies. The sheer presence of this towering war machine, immune to conventional forms of attack, struck fear into the hearts of adversaries. Xenos species and rebel factions alike were forced to adapt their tactics, often at great cost, to counter this new threat. The psychological impact of facing an opponent that appeared to defy the limits of mortality and machinery further destabilized many enemies, leading to disarray and weakening their resolve in prolonged engagements. The technological implications of the Dreadnought's introduction were equally far-reaching. Its success spurred a wave of innovation within the Mechanicum as researchers sought to refine and expand upon the initial design. The challenges encountered during the first deployment provided valuable insights that informed subsequent iterations, leading to more advanced and versatile models. These advancements not only improved the effectiveness of the Dreadnought itself, but also contributed to broader developments in cybernetics, life support systems, and weapons technology across the Imperium. Politically, the success of the first Dreadnought strengthened the position of the Mechanicum within the Imperium. The ability to deliver a functioning and highly effective solution in a time of need solidified their reputation as indispensable partners in humanity's survival. This newfound prestige granted the Mechanicum greater influence over resource allocation and strategic decision-making, allowing them to pursue further research and development with increased support from the Imperium's leadership. The Dreadnought's emergence also reinforced the cultural shift within the Imperium regarding the acceptance of technological and biological integration. What had once been a controversial and ethically debated concept became widely regarded as a necessary and even noble endeavor. This shift in perception opened the door for further experimentation with cybernetic enhancements and other forms of human-machine integration, laying the groundwork for future innovations in warfare. Economically, the deployment of the Dreadnought required a re-evaluation of manufacturing priorities within the Imperium. The production of such a complex and resource-intensive machine demanded significant investments in infrastructure, materials, and skilled labor. Forge worlds across the galaxy were tasked with meeting these demands, leading to the establishment of specialized facilities dedicated to the production and maintenance of Dreadnoughts. This industrial expansion not only supported the war effort, but also stimulated economic activity on a broader scale, creating new opportunities and challenges for the Imperium's logistical network. The impact of the first Dreadnought was not confined to the Imperium alone. The galaxy's other factions, both allies and adversaries, took notice of this technological leap. Some sought to replicate the concept, adapting it to their own needs and capabilities, while others viewed it as a dire threat that needed to be countered at all costs. This shift in the technological landscape introduced a new dynamic to interstellar conflicts, as each faction adjusted its strategies to account for the presence of these formidable war machines. The legacy of the first Dreadnought extended far beyond its initial deployment, influencing every aspect of the Imperium's military, political, and cultural framework. It became a symbol of humanity's determination to endure, a testament to the ingenuity and sacrifice required to survive in a hostile galaxy. The immediate effects of its introduction were both transformative and enduring, setting the stage for a new era in the Imperium's struggle for dominance and survival. The first Dreadnought did not merely change the course of a single battle. It altered the trajectory of the entire galaxy, leaving an indelible mark on the annals of Warhammer 40k history. The first Dreadnought in Warhammer 40k history stands out as a technological and philosophical milestone in the galaxy's development of warfare. What makes this moment so fascinating is not just the groundbreaking technology it introduced, but also the myriad of unique elements that surrounded its creation and use. Among these are the debates over its origins, the intricate systems that made it possible, and the enduring mysteries that continue to captivate fans of the setting. One of the most frequently discussed aspects of the first Dreadnought is its origin. While the Mechanicum is credited with rediscovering and refining the technology, the blueprints and principles that underpin the Dreadnought's creation remain shrouded in mystery. Some speculate that the design was derived from ancient standard template constructs, relics of humanity's golden age of technological advancement. Others believe that it was the result of experimental fusion between rediscovered human technologies and Xenos engineering, sparking endless debates among fans about the influence of alien innovation on the Imperium's most iconic machines. This question of origin fuels discussions about whether the Dreadnought represents a purely human achievement or a reluctant adoption of non-human ideas. Another unique aspect lies in the intricate life support and neural interface systems that allow a wounded warrior to operate the Dreadnought. The technology required to sustain a critically injured individual and seamlessly integrate their mind with the machine was unprecedented. These systems are not merely mechanical, but involve a blend of bioengineering, neural augmentation, and even arcane rituals performed by the Mechanicum. The process by which a warrior is entombed within the Dreadnought remains a grim and secretive procedure, raising questions about the psychological and spiritual implications for those chosen to endure it. Fans often ponder the emotional and mental toll on these warriors, who are forever bound to the machine, unable to return to a fully human existence. The first Dreadnought's weaponry and armor were also unique to its prototype design. Unlike later iterations, which benefited from centuries of refinement, the first Dreadnought had experimental systems that required careful calibration and maintenance. The weapons it wielded were likely custom-built, designed to match the specific combat scenarios for which it was deployed. Its armor, while incredibly resilient, likely lacked some of the modular enhancements seen in later models, making it a one-of-a-kind construct. These design choices not only influenced its performance, but also shaped the tactical strategies employed by commanders who relied on it. The role of the first Dreadnought in its initial deployment also sets it apart. Unlike later Dreadnoughts, which became integral to the military doctrine of the Imperium, the first was a proof of concept, its deployment a desperate gamble rather than a calculated strategy. This uniqueness extended to its symbolic role on the battlefield. The first Dreadnought was not just a tool of war. It was a statement of the Imperium's determination to endure and innovate in the face of insurmountable odds. Its presence inspired awe and fear in equal measure, leaving a lasting impression on both allies and enemies. A particularly intriguing element of the first Dreadnought is the mystery surrounding the identity of its occupant. Unlike the standardized protocols of later eras, the selection process for the first warrior to be entombed within the machine was likely fraught with uncertainty. This individual, whose name may be lost to history or deliberately obscured, holds a unique place in the lore. Fans often debate the qualities that would have made someone suitable for such a role, speculating about their personality, combat prowess, and mental resilience. The identity of this first occupant has become a topic of speculation and storytelling within the community, adding a personal and human element to the otherwise mechanical narrative. The cultural and religious implications of the first Dreadnought also merit attention. The Mechanicum's view of machinery as sacred artifacts meant that the creation of the first Dreadnought likely involved rituals and ceremonies that elevated it beyond a mere tool of war. This reverence for the machine and its integration with a human being blurred the lines between technology and divinity, creating a sense of awe that persists in the Imperium to this day. The introduction of the Dreadnought represented not only a technological breakthrough, but also a shift in how humanity viewed the relationship between flesh and steel. Fans also frequently discussed the potential flaws and limitations of the first Dreadnought. As a prototype, it likely faced challenges that were ironed out in later designs. Questions arise about its mobility, power consumption, and maintenance requirements, leading to debates about how it would have performed in extended campaigns. These imperfections add a layer of realism to the narrative, reminding us that even the most advanced technologies are born from trial and error. The enduring legacy of the first Dreadnought lies in its uniqueness. Unlike the mass-produced models of later eras, it was a singular creation, a blend of desperation, innovation, and ambition. This one-of-a-kind nature has made it a subject of fascination for fans who continue to explore its role in the larger tapestry of Warhammer 40k lore. Whether through official stories or fan theories, the first Dreadnought remains a symbol of the Imperium's relentless drive to adapt and survive in a galaxy defined by conflict. The story of the first Dreadnought is deeply intertwined with the actions and decisions of key individuals whose vision, determination, and sacrifices shaped this monumental achievement. These figures were not only skilled in their respective roles, but also driven by unique motivations and challenges, each contributing in their way to the legacy of the first Dreadnought. One of the most prominent figures in this narrative is the Chief Magos of the Mechanicum who oversaw the Dreadnought project. This individual embodied the essence of the Mechanicum's ideology, a relentless pursuit of knowledge and an unshakable belief in the sanctity of machinery. Known for their unparalleled intellect and methodical approach to problem-solving, they spearheaded the effort to rediscover and adapt ancient technologies to meet the Imperium's needs. However, this Magos was not without flaws. Their intense focus on the project often led to clashes with other factions within the Imperium, who questioned the ethical and practical implications of merging man and machine. Despite these challenges, their vision and leadership were instrumental in turning theoretical designs into a functional prototype. The warrior who became the first Dreadnought occupant was equally significant. This individual was chosen not only for their physical resilience and combat experience, but also for their unwavering loyalty to the Imperium. Their willingness to undergo the procedure, knowing it would forever bind them to a machine and strip them of much of their humanity, speaks to their extraordinary dedication. Their strong sense of duty and unbreakable will allowed them to endure the immense psychological and physical strain of piloting the Dreadnought. However, this strength also came with vulnerabilities. The transition from a fully human existence to life as a machine brought profound isolation and moments of doubt, testing their mental fortitude in ways no battlefield ever could. A senior commander within the Imperium's military hierarchy played a pivotal role in advocating for the Dreadnought's deployment. This figure, known for their strategic acumen and decisiveness, understood the potential of the Dreadnought to turn the tide of critical battles. Their ability to see beyond traditional tactics and embrace innovation made them a key supporter of the project, often shielding it from political and logistical obstacles. However, their aggressive advocacy for the Dreadnought also made them a polarizing figure, with critics accusing them of prioritizing technological advancement over the lives and well-being of the warriors involved. Their legacy is one of both bold vision and contentious debate. Within the Mechanicum, there was also a dissenting voice, an adept who challenged the project's ethical implications. This individual, though deeply knowledgeable in the sciences of cybernetics and bioengineering, was troubled by the moral cost of encasing a living being in a machine. They argued that the Dreadnought represented a dangerous precedent, blurring the line between man and machine in ways that could have unforeseen consequences. Despite their objections, they played a crucial role in refining the technology, ensuring that the first Dreadnought was as effective and humane as possible. Their internal conflict between duty and conscience adds a layer of complexity to the narrative, highlighting the ethical dilemmas faced by those involved. Another figure often discussed in relation to the first Dreadnought is the battlefield medic or apothecary who prepared the first occupant for the procedure. This individual, tasked with preserving life at all costs, faced the heartbreaking duty of deciding which warriors were beyond conventional medical help, but still viable candidates for the Dreadnought program. Their intimate knowledge of the physical and psychological toll of the process gave them a unique perspective, often placing them in direct opposition to those who saw the program purely as a tactical advantage. Despite these conflicts, their compassionate approach ensured that the first occupant received the care and preparation necessary to endure the transformation. The Forge World Overseer responsible for manufacturing the first Dreadnought also played a critical role. This individual was a logistical mastermind, coordinating the production of components and the assembly of the prototype under immense pressure. Their ability to manage resources and personnel efficiently ensured that the project met its deadlines, even in the face of sabotage attempts and resource shortages. While their work was largely behind the scenes, their contribution was indispensable to the success of the Dreadnought program. Finally, there was the scribe or chronicler who documented the creation and deployment of the first Dreadnought. This individual, often overlooked in the grander narrative, ensured that the lessons learned from the project were preserved for future generations. Their meticulous records provided insights into the technical challenges, personal sacrifices, and ethical debates surrounding the Dreadnought, creating a legacy that would inform and inspire subsequent advancements. Their work serves as a reminder that history is shaped not only by those who act, but also by those who observe and record. Each of these figures brought unique qualities, strengths, and vulnerabilities to the creation of the first Dreadnought. Together, they formed a mosaic of talent and dedication that overcame immense challenges to produce one of the most iconic machines in the Warhammer 40k universe. Their contributions, both celebrated and controversial, underscore the complexity and humanity behind the technological marvel that changed the course of history. The topic of the first Dreadnought is steeped in mystery, and over time it has given rise to numerous unresolved questions and theories that continue to intrigue fans of Warhammer 40k. These lingering uncertainties range from the specifics of the prototype's design to the identity of its occupant and the broader implications of its creation. The absence of concrete answers has fueled speculation and debate, making this chapter of 40k history one of its most enigmatic. One of the most hotly debated mysteries is the exact origin of the technology that enabled the first Dreadnought's creation. While the Mechanicum is credited with rediscovering and implementing the necessary designs, the true source of these blueprints remains unclear. Some suggest they were derived from ancient standard template constructs, fragments of humanity's long-lost technological golden age. Others propose that the design might have been pieced together from Xenos technology scavenged during early expeditions of the Great Crusade. This theory raises questions about whether the Imperium's reliance on this technology could expose it to vulnerabilities or unintended consequences. Another unresolved question concerns the precise nature of the neural interface that allowed the first Dreadnought to function. While it is known that a warrior's consciousness was linked to the machine, the extent to which their mind remained intact is a subject of speculation. Some argue that the occupant retained full cognitive abilities and autonomy, while others believe the process involved a significant degradation of mental clarity, leaving only fragments of the individual's personality. This raises the possibility that the first Dreadnought's early battles may have been marred by errors or unpredictable behavior due to the untested nature of the interface. The identity of the first warrior entombed within the Dreadnought is another enduring mystery. Records of this individual, if they ever existed, appear to have been lost or deliberately erased. Was this omission an act of reverence, intended to elevate the machine as a symbol rather than tying it to a single name? Or was it a decision made to conceal failures or controversies surrounding the procedure? Fans often theorize about who this individual might have been, with some suggesting they were a legendary hero whose name was later redacted to protect their legacy, while others speculate they were a lesser-known figure chosen out of necessity rather than fame. Equally debated is the question of why this particular moment in history marked the introduction of the Dreadnought. Was the technology deliberately withheld until the Imperium faced a crisis that justified its use, or was its development a rushed response to an unforeseen challenge? Some argue that earlier attempts at similar machines may have existed but were deemed too flawed to deploy, leading to the eventual refinement seen in the first operational Dreadnought. This raises further questions about whether fragments of these failed experiments still exist in Mechanicum archives, waiting to be rediscovered. The ethics surrounding the creation of the first Dreadnought also remain a point of contention. While it is widely accepted that the procedure was born out of necessity, debates persist about whether the decision to entomb critically injured warriors was universally supported at the time. Did dissenting voices within the Imperium and the Mechanicum attempt to block the project, or was opposition silenced due to the desperate circumstances of the Great Crusade? The possibility that the project faced internal sabotage or covert resistance adds an intriguing layer of conspiracy to its history. Another theory that captivates fans is the idea that the first Dreadnought was never meant to be a singular prototype, but was instead part of a larger, more ambitious plan. Some speculate that the Mechanicum had designs for an entire class of Dreadnoughts, but faced resource constraints or unforeseen challenges that limited their production. This raises the question of whether the first Dreadnought was truly a unique creation or simply the first successful iteration of a broader program that was abandoned or scaled back. The role of the first Dreadnought in subsequent conflicts also remains a topic of speculation. Historical accounts of its deployments are sparse, leaving fans to wonder whether it was destroyed in battle, decommissioned after serving its purpose, or deliberately hidden away to prevent its technology from falling into enemy hands. Some theories even suggest that remnants of the first Dreadnought still exist, either preserved in secret Mechanicum vaults or as a forgotten relic on some distant battlefield, waiting to be rediscovered. Finally, there are theories about the spiritual and symbolic significance of the first Dreadnought. Given the Mechanicum's deeply ingrained reverence for machinery, it is possible that the first Dreadnought was treated not merely as a weapon, but as a sacred artifact. Rituals and ceremonies surrounding its creation and deployment may have imbued it with a status that transcended its practical purpose. This perspective invites questions about how the first Dreadnought was viewed by those who served alongside it, as well as by the enemies who faced it in battle. These unresolved questions and theories about the first Dreadnought ensure that it remains one of the most discussed and enigmatic topics in Warhammer 40k lore. Its story is not just one of technological innovation, but also one of mystery, human resilience, and the complexities of a galaxy where the line between necessity and sacrifice is often blurred. The lack of definitive answers only adds to its allure, inviting endless exploration and speculation from those who delve into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. The creation and deployment of the first Dreadnought had long-lasting implications for the Warhammer 40k universe, not just as a technological innovation, but as a turning point in the philosophical and strategic evolution of the Imperium. Its legacy continues to ripple through the ages, influencing warfare, culture, and even the ideological fabric of the galaxy. Examining the far-reaching consequences reveals both the triumphs and the potential pitfalls of this groundbreaking achievement. One of the most significant long-term effects of the first Dreadnought was its role in shaping the Imperium's approach to preserving its greatest warriors. Before the advent of this technology, grievous injuries often meant the end of a soldier's career, if not their life. The Dreadnought changed this paradigm by providing a way for severely wounded individuals to continue fighting. Over time, this practice became deeply ingrained in the Imperium's military doctrine, ensuring that the skills and experience of elite warriors were not lost to the battlefield. However, this reliance on Dreadnoughts also created a culture where individuals were viewed as resources to be preserved at all costs, sometimes at the expense of their humanity. The introduction of the Dreadnought also marked a significant shift in the Imperium's technological and ethical boundaries. It established a precedent for merging organic life with machinery on an unprecedented scale, paving the way for other forms of human-machine integration. This development expanded the Mechanicum's influence as their expertise became critical to maintaining these hybrids. However, it also deepened the Imperium's dependence on the Mechanicum, further intertwining the fates of Mars and Terra. In the long run, this dependency could become a vulnerability, as the Mechanicum's priorities and doctrines do not always align perfectly with the Imperium's broader goals. Culturally, the first Dreadnought became a symbol of resilience and determination, embodying the Imperium's refusal to surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. This symbolism strengthened the Imperium's collective identity, inspiring countless soldiers and citizens to endure hardships in service to humanity's survival. At the same time, it also reinforced the grim reality of life within the Imperium, where sacrifice and suffering are viewed as unavoidable costs of existence. This duality, hope tempered by despair, became a defining characteristic of the Imperium's ethos, shaping its narrative for millennia to come. The long-term consequences of the Dreadnought's introduction extended beyond the Imperium itself. The ability to field such a powerful and enduring war machine shifted the balance of power in the galaxy, forcing other factions to adapt their strategies. Xenos empires and rival human factions began developing new weapons and tactics to counter the Dreadnought's strengths, leading to an arms race that would escalate the destructive potential of galactic warfare. This cycle of innovation and counter-innovation contributed to the increasingly apocalyptic nature of conflicts in the 41st millennium, where entire worlds are often reduced to ash in the pursuit of victory. In the broader context of the galaxy, the first Dreadnought also raised philosophical questions about the nature of humanity and the cost of survival. By merging flesh and steel, the Dreadnought blurred the line between human and machine, challenging traditional notions of identity and individuality. Over time, this shift in perspective influenced not only the Imperium, but also its enemies and allies, as debates over the ethics of such integration became more prominent. While the Dreadnought was initially seen as a necessary innovation, its long-term implications have sparked ongoing discussions about the limits of technological progress and the sacrifices it demands. Another potential long-term consequence lies in the psychological impact on both the Dreadnought occupants and those who serve alongside them. The existence of these warriors, forever encased in their mechanical shells, serves as a constant reminder of the harsh realities of war. While their presence can inspire awe and loyalty, it can also foster fear and alienation, as they are no longer fully human. This dynamic may strain relationships within the Imperium's military ranks, creating divisions between those who view the Dreadnoughts as heroes and those who see them as tragic figures. From a strategic perspective, the success of the first Dreadnought encouraged the Imperium to invest heavily in similar technologies, prioritizing durability and firepower over adaptability and mobility. While this approach has proven effective in many conflicts, it has also made the Imperium's forces more predictable and, in some cases, less flexible. As the galaxy continues to evolve, this reliance on heavily armored units may limit the Imperium's ability to respond to emerging threats, particularly those that require unconventional tactics or rapid adaptation. The legacy of the first Dreadnought also extends to the Mechanicum's role in preserving and advancing its technology. The secrecy surrounding the Dreadnought's creation and maintenance has created a culture of exclusivity within the Mechanicum, where knowledge is hoarded rather than shared. While this ensures that critical technologies remain under strict control, it also stifles collaboration and innovation, potentially hindering the development of new solutions to the Imperium's challenges. In the long term, this secrecy could become a double-edged sword, preserving the status quo at the expense of progress. The question of whether the Dreadnought represents a triumph or a tragedy continues to resonate throughout the galaxy. On one hand, it stands as a testament to humanity's ingenuity and resilience, an embodiment of the Imperium's ability to endure against all odds. On the other hand, it is a stark reminder of the cost of survival in a galaxy defined by unending war. The first Dreadnought's creation set the stage for an era of unprecedented technological and cultural change, but it also laid bare the sacrifices and compromises required to sustain humanity's dominance. Looking ahead, the Dreadnought's legacy will continue to shape the Warhammer 40k universe in ways that are both predictable and unforeseen. Whether its influence ultimately proves to be a blessing or a curse will depend on how the Imperium navigates the challenges it has created, balancing the demands of survival with the values it seeks to uphold. In the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, the Dreadnought remains a powerful symbol of what humanity is willing to endure to secure its place among the stars.